All right, so trying one last time on this whole live streaming business, and I'm using this StreamYard, and I'm loving StreamYard. I tell you that for sure. But what I need to do is to make sure that everybody that people can actually see me. So greetings, by the way. I should, bear in mind this is going to be a standalone video at some point, so I should really talk. I shouldn't just let it all be dead air at the moment. So yeah, thanks for watching if you're watching. Thanks for your patience if you joined me from the previous live streams. Big ups yourself. Could you just give me a couple of, there we go, yeah, Rage and Bajan. Big up your status, Rage and Bajan, because I am loving this. Do you know what? I'm gonna do this, look. Rage and Bajan. Woo! Comment on screen. Come on, this is revolutionary, man. I didn't know that. I've seen videos like with this business where you can put the comment at the bottom and stuff, but I never knew that people were on this thing called StreamYard. So what a ting, man! What a ting. So yeah, greetings one and all. Greetings one and all. I'll bear this in mind for future reference. I'll use StreamYard in future rather than trying to go direct through YouTube. Mind over matter, are you around? You was on a previous live stream, so hopefully you'll join at some point as well. Now, Rage and Bajan, you made a comment which I had copied, but then stupidly I didn't paste it anywhere, and because I had to copy and paste this access code for this StreamYard, I've lost your comment. So I'm sorry. I think you were saying something about your dad. I think from what I saw, it was a comment about your dad and something. So if you're all right, please to post your comment again. Then we can chat about that. And everyone else, yeah, thank you. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. I love StreamYard. Do you know what? If anyone wants to join this stream, by the way, then my word, I think I can just share a link and then you can join the stream. So what about that? So if I press, what's this? 6 guests. So if I copy this thing here, and then if I do this, I think, yeah, now that comment there that I've just posted there means that anyone can join the stream, I think. So by all means, join if you want to, and then yeah, we can chop it up. But where was I? So we were talking about this documentary called The Talk from Channel 4. Really good documentary. To give it a real quick overview for anyone who hasn't seen the previous videos, stumbling around with my live streams I was doing before. Basically, it's a bunch of black celebrities in the UK talking about their experience growing up in the UK, learning about racism for the first time, and having the talk with their parents for the first time about racism. And I was just saying how it was really heartbreaking at times. Some of the things that people were talking about, a lot of the celebrities broke down in tears. Some of their parents broke down in tears, talking about their experiences growing up in the UK. We talked in my first video, we talked a bit about mixed race people, light-skinned people, the whole light-skin, dark-skin business, and how on this documentary, a lot of the celebrities were mixed race. So the guy from JLS, Marvin from JLS, his wife, who used to be, I think, in the Saturdays, the girl from the Little Mix, and also there were another couple of guys as well. I think one dancer, there's some dancer guy and his brother were on there as well. So, but of the females, of the women, 3 out of the 4 were mixed race, and only one of them was a dark-skinned woman called Gillian Joseph, who's a newsreader. And I was saying she broke down in tears when she was saying how when she was growing up, the boys never wanted to kiss her in Kiss Chase. And one thing I forgot to say about that story is that she was saying that no one ever wanted to kiss her, and she couldn't go home and tell her mum because her mum would have just said to her, well, you should be playing kiss chase anyway. And that's exactly what I thought as she was saying it. I was like, how, there's no way for example, there's no way I could go home and tell my parents anything like that. Like, oh yeah, you know, none of the girls want to like, do you know what I mean? Because they'd say, well, you're not in school for that. You're in school to learn and read books and, you know, and study and rare. They would not be having anything to do with this kiss chase business. But actually, the point I made in my other video was that love, relationships, hey, mind over matter, peace and blessings. Love, relationships, and so forth is important to us as human beings, and it's important to us from a very young age, you know. And there's no point as parents, there's no point in us pretending that our children at some point aren't going to start getting involved in relationships and aren't going to want to start to feel good, you know. And they're going to, there's no point in us pretending that eventually children, you know, aren't going to want to start to be being attractive to, you know, people, and being knocked back like that, like Mind Over Matter said in the other stream, having that, what's the word? That, oh, let me just show the comment. There we go. Hey, I love this thing where you can show the comments, man. I love it. Yeah, having the ability to be, what was I saying? Sorry, having the ability, being knocked back. That's it. The psychological blow. The psychological blow of knowing that no one's going to be wanting to get romantically involved with you is a big old blow. And I'm a man, so you know, I don't want to be speaking out of turn and speaking about issues that I don't know about, because I haven't experienced being a woman, a female, a girl in school. But I can only imagine, from what I've heard from speaking to girls when I was younger, and women, and now, I can only imagine that must, you know, that feeling that a girl, you know, guys don't like me. And even actually, it goes beyond just the shade thing. It even goes to say like size, you know, girls who were on the bigger side, for example, you know, in school, I can imagine it's the same kind of thing, whereby you probably get this internal feeling of, okay, all right, I know that I'm not wanted, I'm not desired, so I'll just, and while you might, I can imagine, while you might be able to just get on with it and move on and, you know, find other ways of, you know, of getting yourself, of deriving self-worth, which frankly you should, we all should, you know, we shouldn't get our self-worth just on the basis of, oh, do people find me attractive? But frankly, you know, let's face it, that's really important. And I can imagine it's something that probably causes issues for women, as it does for men, you know, in other ways in their youth and later on in life. But just going back to the subject of this actual documentary, the fact that it's to do with our race, their race, them being black women, is deplorable. You know, is deplorable in my mind, and it's horrendous, and it was heartbreaking because Gillian Joseph, this newsreader, a big woman, maybe pushing 50, she was on the verge of tears reflecting on that. So that was something that, as I said, I've not got daughters, but you know, and I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, you know, black women are, you know, we must worship at the altar of black women because black women are everything, and black women, you know, I'm not. I kind of find that a little bit. It doesn't sit right with me, because we are a unity. You know, and men aren't more important than women, and women aren't more important than men. You know, it's not about more important or, you know, whatever. But we need to sort that shit out. We need to sort that shit out. We need to sort out, as a people, as a community, we need to sort out the way that white supremacy gets into women's head and, you know, programs them to feel inadequate about themselves because of the way they look, because of their beautiful skin, because of their beautiful hair, just like it does to men as well, but to a far deeper degree. I think that goes without saying, to a far deeper degree. You know, women are kind of messed up by white supremacy. So can you guys still hear me, by the way? It's got a bit quiet in the comments. I just want to make sure that I've not gone frozen or something weird has happened. I might just type here Augusta. So I put the comment on there. Please don't tell me that I've frozen again, because if I've frozen, then boy, that might have to just call it a day, because I don't know what's happening with this streaming business. So loud and clear. Good. Rage Invasion. Good. Thank you. It does all start. So Rage Invasion made a comment here. It all starts in the home, instilling confidence, and exactly so. Yeah, because I think it's a minefield. Like, I made a video a year ago talking about some of these things, and you're just here's what I think. I think the key. Thank you, mind over matter. I haven't frozen. I think the key is to not introduce race, not start talking to your children about race when you're talking in the context of racism. I think that's one of the keys anyway, because you want to make sure that your children or children who are around you that you have any influence over, whether it's your nieces, nephews, whatever. I think you want to make sure that we don't look at our who we are, our race, our biological and cultural and ethnic characteristics. It's important to not look at those things as something that is a problem. You know, these things are not a problem. These things are not just the source of, or these things are not just something that are targeted by racism. And so the only time we talk about it is, to do with white supremacy and racism and discrimination and so forth. I think it's really important to, from the beginning, as young as possible, and I'm trying that with my boys as well, as young as possible, to ensure that they know that their blackness, their Africanness, their phenotypes, their hair, their lips, their noses, everything about them is wonderful and is something to be celebrated and something to be rejoiced over and something to be kind of out front and open as well, out there in front a lot of the time. Not something that's hidden away and just like, okay, let's have a talk now to talk about, you being black. But no, actually, it's got to be embedded in all the time, and not in a kind of they're obsessed about being being black, but in a sense of their blackness is something that their blackness is something that they are happy about and feel good about, first and foremost. And I think that, my eldest little one, he's 2.5, and I'm happy that already he, from a while back actually, he can point to a map of Africa on the thingy on the wall and say, I say to him, "Where's that?" And he'll say, "Africa." Yeah, and he knows the map. He knows the shape of Africa. My wife's Jamaican, of Jamaican heritage. He knows Jamaica. He knows the colours. He knows the Jamaica colours. That kind of thing. It's a simple, silly thing, but that's the kind of thing. And I say it's silly. It's not silly, because Africa, when I was young, growing up, Africa was something that you don't really hear talked about with regard to starving children in Ethiopia, or a bit later on, civil war in Rwanda, Rwanda or wherever else. And so that's where it starts. Rage Invasion. So mind over matter. Yeah, you said. You don't want them to feel like victims. Yes, exactly, because society is going to victimize them. That goes without saying, and they have to be aware. They have to be ready to. They have to be prepared for when society does start doing that, because it's going to happen from a fairly young age. But I think it's so important. I'm a father of very young children for the first time. I ain't got the answers, but. It's got to start from a young age, so that when the racism comes, it's like, now one thing that was really good, actually, one thing that I really liked that someone said, I think it was Lenny James. Yeah, Lenny James, who's an actor. He said this. He said that his mum grew up, when he was growing up, his mum said to him that, you know, when it comes to this racism stuff, racism is not something to do with you. It's got nothing to do with you. You know, you don't have any problem. It's not, racism is not your problem. There's no problem with your black skin. There's no problem with that. If there's any problem with anybody, it's the problem with white people. These racist white people. That's who the problem is with. The problem is with them. The problem is not with you. You know, you are awesome. You know what I mean? You are brilliant. You are great. You be happy and proud of who you are. These people are the ones who've got the issue. It's white people who are the ones who've got the problem, not us. And I think that was a really good one. Good way of framing it. And it reminded me of something that I read actually in work. And I was reading that there's a disability policy. And one of the things with this disability policy, it says that it holds to, I think it's something like the social view of disability, which is that people have impairments. People might have an impairment, a broken leg or whatever, do you know what I mean? Or some condition or whatever. That's an impairment, fine. But the disabling is something that other people do to this, you know, to them because of their impairment. They are the ones who do it. The disabling, they are not disabled in and of themselves. They are disabled by society. And I love that. And it made me think of this kind of, you know, this kind of thing as well. That black is not a problem. Black is not a stigma. Black is not a, you know, an impairment. It's not even an impairment, actually. Black is a being. Black is being. You know, we are black, and that's who we are, and that is who we've been since day dot. And all of the, you know, all of the wonderful things. And obviously, it all comes into like the history. We have to get into our history. We have to get into valuing our ways of life that we had prior to the Wazungu coming, prior to slavery, prior to colonialism, prior to neo-colonialism. You know, all of these things are part of that. Loving, you know, our hair. You know, yes, it is important to talk about our hair. I remember once there was a blessed user called Happy Pearson who used to comment on my videos, and she said something that I love. She said that our hair is like our hair strands are like strands of DNA. And I was like, whoa, they're like strands of DNA. No other people's hair is like that. No one else's hair coils like that, you know. And I was like, wow, that, you know, that's a great concept. I mean, talking about introducing the concept of DNA and genetics and stuff, like, remember that for a starting point. So, son, let's see this bit of hair here when you were coming. See this little bit, see the way it's coiled? We've got this genetic information within us. It's called DNA. And it's coiled. If you look at it under a microscope, it's coiled like our hair. Our hair reflects our genes in this weird kind of way, you know? So yeah, anyway, Raging Bajan, yes, exactly. We've got to sit with our children and tell them what it is. And one of the big things that I've got noted down here that I wanted to talk about was homeschooling. So me and my wife have really been talking about homeschooling a lot over this whole lockdown period, and you know, it's becoming more of a kind of potential thing that we're going to do. And the big reason for that, is that, you know, I don't really want to farm off my children as we're doing now. One of them goes to nursery part-time, and it's like, you know, so sometimes they come, you know, he comes home and it's like, oh, what's this mark on his leg? Or like, what's this on his, you know, how comes he's, I don't know, how comes he's scratching his arm? Like, and it's kind of like, well, he's been out of our sight for the last 8 hours or whatever. Of course, you don't know what's going to happen. You have no idea what's going on. They'll tell you, you know, I wouldn't send him there if I thought that he was in any danger. But ultimately, there's always that element of, I can't be sure what's going on there, you know. Same with like talking about race and racism. Who knows? You're going to be 2.5, but who knows what might already be starting to develop there as far as, you know, the interactions with some of these little Wazungu boys and girls. You know, who knows? I don't know. So we're thinking about, well, okay, what's the point of having children if actually we're going to outsource the raising of these children. You know, why are we outsourcing it? Do we not want to raise our own children? And thinking about the whole point of all of these people's story in the talk, a lot of them centered around the schoolyards, school gates, you know, because that's where these, you know, children are. You get us into a pack, we're horrible to each other, man, you know. So we're really thinking very, very carefully about homeschooling, because it's almost like you wouldn't need to be coming up with such complex ways of like counteracting the influence of the schoolyard and the race system in the schoolyard, because they're with you and you direct what they're learning and you direct their socialization, if you like. Let me just get through some of these comments. So Mind Over Matter said, wow, that's brilliant for a little boy to know that much. So that's going back to what I was saying about my son being able to point to the map of Africa. Yeah, it's great. You know, I just want to build on that. Good start, but we need to build on that. One of the other things I was trying to do is to try and get him to, you know, learn Swahili. You know, a few years ago, I was learning Swahili. I was really good, but I kind of slacked off badly. But he is, you know, he's familiar with certain words. Like I call him mtoto, which is child. I call the two of them watoto. I'd say kuja, come here, instead of come here. You know, as maji is water, and you know, he knows the numbers, moja, mbili, tatu, tano, and stuff. He recognizes them, but he wouldn't be able to sort of say them. I'd like to kind of make sure that he gets, you know, that kind of an African tongue, for being familiar with hearing it, at least as he's growing up. Sadly, neither of us can speak fluently, but you know, that's important. Mind Over Matter, you said interesting concept. Thank you. And you also said, good, yeah, the homeschooling thing. Keep your kids away from the racists. Now, here's a comment that you said here. Wow. You said, so Mind Over Matter said this: I would not put my kids in childcare. My granddad almost had a heart attack when he had to leave me with nannies. By the way, you got kicked out of nursery. Why did you get kicked out of nursery, by the way? Wow. But yeah, I'll just wait for your answer on that. But this is the thing: sending your children to nurseries and childcare and stuff. It's kind of, the reason we do that. It's a byproduct of what I talked about in a couple of videos ago, which is the upside downness of life, where we're palming off our children to other people to raise, just so that we can sustain a job. You know, but actually, a lot of the reason why we're going to these jobs is to pay for childcare. Do you know, in England, London, and the surrounding counties where I am, you're looking at like £1,000 a month for a child to go to nursery full time. £1,000 a month. And to put that into context, like you'd have to be getting paid a significant amount of money for, if you've got more than one child, frankly, it's almost not worth sending your children to nursery. Or it's almost not worth working, I should say, because most of your salary is going to be swallowed up with just the childcare. But it's like, well, okay, how about we don't bother with the childcare and we care for our own children? You know, what gets into that is that I'll come on to that in a minute. Let's carry on this dialogue. So, okay. So, Raging Bajan, I'm going to come back to your comments in a minute, but let me go back to Mind Over Matter to answer the question about what happened at nursery. So, you said you started nursery early. You were getting hit by the white nursery teacher who you rebelled against. Good. She would give my lunch. Oh, what? She would give your lunch to a little white kid. Are you in the US, by the way? I presume you're in the US because you said biracial earlier. And then carrying on here, you would take your food back from the kid, and then the nursery nurse would slap you. What? Oh man, I don't need to be looking at stories like this, man, because frankly, you're in the UK. This was in the UK. Wow. Okay. And man, and yeah, this is the thing. This is the thing. Who knows what kind of crap is going on in these nurseries or schools, for that matter? Unfortunately, you're palming off your children, and you're basically saying, right, well, I trust you guys to basically do the right thing, and especially when children are younger. What the thing that I can't wait till my little one is able to start talking more. He can talk, but you know, I'll ask him, oh, what happened to your leg or whatever. He's not yet really able to. He's not yet really able to kind of put a narrative together, a proper big narrative, like a full-on sentence. Like, yeah, so yesterday, Daddy, we went. Do you know what I mean? He's not on that level yet. He's more of one sentence kind of guy. He's a boy of few words, you could say. So I can't wait till he can speak, so that he can start to tell me more about Wagwan. So let me just go to Rage Invasion. Yeah, so kind of echoing what Mind Over Matter is saying, that these schools deliberately neglect black children, pick on them and vilify them. And then you said that you were pulled out of school due to constant conflicts with teachers because they didn't know how to handle black children, and are quick to dismiss them and dumb them down. Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things that, the labeling of aggressive with regard to boys, angry black girl with regard to girls. This is a tangent. This might not actually be this might not be suitable, or directly relevant. But thinking about drill gangs and these gangs and stuff, and like they're getting into all of the aggression, the violence and so forth. But what am I saying? I think what I'm trying to say is that there's an element of that which I think is more to do with. Well, I suppose what I'm saying is that what we as communities need to be doing is nurturing that desire for these boys and girls nowadays. The desire for these boys and girls to be wanting to get, for that camaraderie, for that sense of a team, for that sense of a group, for that sense of feeling power, power and influence and protection and so forth. Those things, unfortunately, are not going to be nurtured. Children, boys in particular, I can speak less about girls, but boys in particular are not going to get that kind of training in school, because the school playground is a free-for-all. Anything goes in the school playground. And I think we need to do it as a community, within our communities on a local level. We need to kind of harness that. And why did I say that? In regard to Rage Invasion, you said you were pulled out of school due to constant conflicts. I think maybe part of that there is what you were saying about they didn't know how to handle black children. Maybe that's what it is that they don't know how to, they don't want to, they don't want to handle black children. And frankly, I'm skeptical about schools anyway. Why should we expect professional bureaucrats, which is what teachers kind of are, why should we expect them to know how to individually deal with all of our, individual characteristics and emotions and so forth, if that makes sense. So going back to Mind Over Matter, thank you for all these comments, by the way. You said you started. Oh wait, I've read that already. So you moved from your mum to your grandparents because your mum wanted to study. This is what happens when women have children outside of wedlock. You said you were highly fluent, spoke everything that was happening to you. Yeah, but your mum ignored you. Okay, until you got kicked out. And that's one of the things that. I mean, just on that wedlock thing, you said that this is what happens when women have children outside of wedlock. Yeah, I mean, that's what can happen when people have children outside of wedlock. My wife says this thing, it's maybe a bit controversial, but she's like, if women were like really, really had really high standards when it comes to men, and just basically would not allow them near them if they were idiots, then a lot of social problems could be dealt with. Now, I think that's putting way too much pressure on women and girls, young girls in particular, because they're not they shouldn't be islands. Girls and women, just like boys, shouldn't be just on their own islands making these decisions about couple, who to get with and so forth. It should be us as a village are the ones who are inculcating our children, our youngsters, with these values. But I kind of see what she means about that. And that. Might have Matt said your wife is telling the truth. Yeah, I mean she kind of is, but I've gone through a phase of just being very individualistic and say, you black individuals, you need to sort out, stop doing this and stop doing that. But I really want to make sure that I don't overplay the individual power that we have, because I don't think we have that much power on an individual level. We're shaped by our backgrounds, we're shaped by our context, we're shaped by our societies, we're shaped by the economic situation, cultural situation, physical situation that we're in, and we're not going to just suddenly, we don't land as fully, all powerful individuals in society able to just make all the decisions we need to make. We're shaped by our backgrounds. So, and then, mind over Matt, you said that your mum was ignoring you, and that's one of the things as well. That thinking about my upbringing, I didn't really tell my parents much, because for example, any kind of school issue, anything that happened at school, it'll be my fault. If I had some kind of issue with the teacher, it'll be my fault. Which is why I tried to not have any issues with teachers, because I knew that I've not got an ally at home, Which is funny, because some of my Caribbean friends. All my black friends were Caribbean back in them days, apart from one or two. Their parents would be at school, and the white boys. Their parents would come to school and have it out with the teachers, which I quite like. I like that in a sense. I like that element of taking the side of your children over these professionals. I like that. I think that a lot of African parents have got it wrong the other way around. And I think that came out actually in this documentary when, what's the guy's name now? I think it was Tiny Temper was I got the vibe from his dad that his dad was a bit like, no, what you got to do is like talk nicely to people, and then you won't get in trouble from police and schools, and that's the wrong kind of mindset. Anyway, Raging Bajan, you said that people told you that you had an attitude and rolled your eyes. Instead of trying to mediate, they sent you to a referral unit, which is even worse. You end up with kids, sadly black, who are destined for the nearest HMP. Yeah, that whole pupil referral unit thing. I read up on this like a year or two ago, and it is a pipeline. And one of the things that I found out was that when you look at history, when you look at the whole concept, let me move this so you can see me. I'm sure you'd rather see the comment than me, but I just want to see me. But what's really fascinating is that the whole concept of special educational needs, is something that kind of was created in like the 60s. And the children who it was basically created for, the children who got slapped with this special educational needs label, were black children, Caribbean, specifically parents from the Caribbean children. And the things that they were talking about, there was like this list of the things that, okay, well, this can be classed as special educational needs, even to this day. And one of them was, some of them were things like has problems communicating with others, or something like that, or like there were some things that were basically like, just kind of like what we're talking about with regard to attitude, and I think language was one of them. And so they were basically these Caribbean children were put into this category of special educational needs at a much higher rate than children from other ethnic groups. And then I think you think of how, okay, well, we're talking about today, like, well, why are there disproportionately, what's the deal with some of these social issues that the longer, the black children, the black communities have been here longer, so the Caribbeans particularly, they've been here longer than most Africans have. They've been here from the 50s and 60s, whereas most Africans who are here today have been here from the even 90s, 80s, 90s, and noughties. Those Caribbean children came, and they came into this context where their children were being put into these so-called special educational needs labeling. And then what does that do for that puts you into these so-called pupil referral units, that puts you on this branch line onto low educational attainment, dead-end jobs, being stigmatized by society and police and so forth. And it's a sad thing to see that it's taking place to this day. How many of the boys who are involved in the children who are involved in these drill gangs and so forth are, you know, have been part of this so-called special educational needs, you know, and have been expelled from school and so forth. All of that, it's all wrapped up. And one of the things that I've started to realize in my I've become someone who's against the state. You know, I don't think the state should be having so much power over our lives. And you have to say, well, schooling, the whole concept of institutional schooling is the part of the problem. Just like the whole concept of professionals kind of having so much control over our lives is part of the problem. Rather than saying, well, we need to improve the schools. No, well, maybe the whole thing about schools even raising our children is the problem, if that makes sense. Anyway, some comments. Leah's Walkabout. Aloha from Hawaii. All right. My goodness me. Greetings. Yeah, I'm from the UK. Yep. I'm in the UK. England, southern England, where it's, you know, here we are. But greetings, I got views from Hawaii. Yeah, I had one from South Africa earlier, got one from Hawaii. This is a global audience, global community, I should say, you know, we've got here. So that's a great thing. My wife is telling the truth. Hey, M. Michelle's, he said, good to see me back, African's Voice. Thank you. Now, me and this brother here, we had some run-ins. We had some run-ins a few years ago over some of my when I was going through my black conservative phase. He and I had some run-ins, and I look back at some of them comments now, and I'm like, yeah, he was right, and I was being an idiot, frankly. So yeah, nice to see you on here, my brother. Hope you're well. Here we go. Right. Mind over matter. The woman is the one with the womb. She has to carry the baby when the man is gone. Yeah, she is the one choosing the father. But I think that is true. But even more so for the parents and the families to be, and I don't want to say protecting the girls, you know, because they're not delicate in that sense. But yeah, because of that kind of biological reality, partly because of that biological reality, you know, we ought to be placing a much higher emphasis on mate choosing. And I mean, what does that mean? That probably means let's switch off from, let's cut off from the bullshit that you get from ideas about love and relationships and so forth that you get from your music videos and your social media and stuff. Cut off from that crap. And let's start to be more deliberate. Let's start to create more of a deliberate culture that frames relationships and frames sex and frames, you know, frames family in a way that is going to be beneficial for us, you know, as a community. And not buying into, I should say as well, not buying so much into this kind of Western bourgeois individualistic feminism, which is basically, girls, you go out and get whatever you want. You don't need no man. You just get whatever you want. You get a career. You be a powerful businesswoman career. Da, 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 da. And then at some point, it's like, well, okay, so what does that mean? I can't have children. I can't have children then? Is that, in order to be a real woman, a successful woman, I have to just forego children, or I have to wait till I'm a much later old to have children? And then, you know, we need a more holistic way of viewing things than this, because that bourgeois middle class Eurocentric feminism is basically basically turns us into fodder for the capitalist system. That's what it does. It turns us into workers to go off and basically make profits for capitalists. That's what it does. You know, it doesn't encourage us to build our own. It doesn't encourage us to become self-sufficient, to become on a community level self-sufficient. It doesn't encourage that. It encourages us to become part of the business world, part of the corporate world, getting sucked into making stuff that people don't really need. You know, this whole economy that we have that's just built on hot air and hype and so forth. That's what it does. You know, this bourgeois feminism. So yeah, let me run through, make sure I catch up with the comments. So So mind over matter, you were talking about how your mum would just brush you off and tell, oh, okay, tell you she couldn't cope. Well, I mean, you know what? Our parents have all made mistakes, and you know, our our thing is to try and learn from their mistakes, so we don't make them again, I suppose. Leah's walkabout. It's best to know both parents, even if they are fuck ups. Agreed, definitely. And that's something that I think that's something that happens more than probably is given credit for. Absentee fathers and so forth, they might be absent from the home, but a lot of them are actually keeping in touch with their children. And they should be doing that more often, because exactly, it should be that, okay, your relationship has failed, fine. But you still got a relationship with your child. And a lot of the nonsense about, I think a lot of the time, well, first of all, the welfare system probably encourages women to just not be bothered about, mothers to not be bothered about the fathers, because it's like, oh, you're getting this check from the welfare, so why do I need this parent? And I've heard people in the USA talking about how back in the day they were incentivized to not have any contact with the parent, with the father, because they'd get certain levels of welfare that they wouldn't get from that they wouldn't get if they were with the fathers or something like that. Raging Bajan, you said, that's like the silent twins from Wales. There wasn't anything wrong with them other than being introverted, but they put them in Broadmoor. Which silent twins is this? I think I know what you mean. I think I know what you mean. In fact, let me just Google search it. Let me just Google search. Is it the girls? Silent twins Wales. Is it those? Yeah, they put them in June and Jennifer Gibbons. Yeah, that was a really right. Oh my God! Oh man, I remember this documentary from back in the day. This was a really. Let me. I think I can share my screen on this. Let me show you. Let me just show you this. No, maybe not. I've got some. Hold on one second. All right. Do you know what? Let me just not tempt fate here. I won't share my screen. But yes, there were these two sisters, twin sisters, from Barbados. Yeah, I remember this. And were they like kind of autistic or something? Or the Wikipedia page says, identical twins grew up in Wales. They became known as the silent twins since they only communicated with each other. They began writing works of fiction, but later turned to crime. Both women were admitted to Broadmoor Hospital. Now, Broadmoor Hospital is a high security mental hospital, psychiatric hospital, yeah, where they were held for 11 years. Wow. That's probably a documentary that I'm gonna have to watch again at some point. But yeah, exactly. If you can't fit, that's the thing with schools. If you can't fit into the boxes that they want to put you into, they'll label you. They'll put you into a box if you can't fit into a box, and that box will involve robbing you of your individuality, robbing you of your liberty, ultimately, and of your freedom. Let me not say liberty. Liberty's got kind of right wing libertarian connotations. I'm talking liberty, freedom. Mind over matter, the Caribbean parents did not do enough to ensure their children's educational attainment. Most of these parents can't even sit down with their children and teach them to read. They expect the teachers to do everything. Okay. All right. I'm loath to kind of be speaking ill of people of past generations in that way, because I don't know what pressures they were under, but one thing I will say is that my parents never really sat down with me, and they're Ugandan. They were just like, yeah, exactly. They actually had that mentality of basically the teachers would do it and I'll just do it myself, Rachel Bajan said, school was a social club for me. I went to Saturday school every week, £10 an hour, maths, English. The school concept doesn't work for us yet, in my opinion. It isn't ours historically. 100% agree. It's not something that I think is part of a. If we're looking at a Black future, a Pan-African future, an African future, I don't think institutional schooling should be part of that. Because all we're going to end up doing is it's just copying white supremacy. We're just going to be copying Eurocentrism. But it's just going to be neo-colonialism. I think. Might Never Matter said Finland only has school for 4 hours a day and no homework. What? Okay, I've heard something like that with regard to Scandinavian schools being quite kind of forward thinking in that regard. Whereas here in the UK now, we're going. Not only is it school from 9 to 3, it's not. I'm pretty sure is it now 8 to 3 or maybe even 8 to 4. They're extending the school days and they're making you have to stay in school for more years. So rather than before, when I left school at 16, because that was the age you left school, or even earlier, now you've got to stay in school till you're 18 unless you get a job or someone else like that. So it's like school isn't working, so let's have more of it. That's basically, and that's, talking about all this at the moment. There's this whole thing in the UK over A-level results. You guys, I'm sure you've been seeing some of this stuff. This whole thing with regard to A-level results and how basically because of lockdown and a bunch of these children didn't take their exams, the government cooked up this algorithm to basically decide what their grades would be. If something like the teachers gave them predicted grades, and the government have created some algorithm which they haven't published. And this algorithm basically decided, based on previous years, I think it's something like trying to get the same proportions of people who had got A's and B's and so forth from previous years or something like that. They've basically downgraded a bunch of these people. So whereas a load of people were predicted A or whatever, they were all downgraded to D and whatever. And why am I saying that? I'm saying that because it's throughout this whole lockdown period, like people, parents have been homeschooling their children and so forth because they've not been able to go into school, and the teachers have been like going mad. This is terrible. But for me, it's like, well, it goes to show that actually you're not needed, teachers. I'm afraid you're not really needed. The only reason why you're needed is because society forces us as parents to send our children there, or we're brainwashed and we buy into the brainwashing to send our children to school. School is not needed. I really don't think. I had a book. There's a book called I haven't got it up here. It's called Dumbing Us Down. Really, really good book. I'm going to do a video, I think, hopefully one day to talk about that book. But basically, he's a teacher and he's just like, yeah, I'm not teaching anything to these children except indifference, a lack of connection between all these different things that they learn. Knowing their class position because of all the grading of, you're in the top set, you're in the middle set, you're in the bottom set, and so on and so forth. Order, learning to know that the bell is king, or the bell rules. When the bell goes, you have to go here, you follow orders, follow rules. That's what school does. And yet whenever school fails, we need more school. Whenever, like, talking about, like, underachievement of black children, we need better school. We need more schools, more teachers, better teachers. Pay the teachers more. That will get children to do better at school. Radio Bajan, these schools are employee factories. 100%. That's what they are. I said it in my previous video. I think that's what they were invented for. In Germany, in Prussia, in the 1870s, I believe. Bismarck, the chancellor, he wasn't a chancellor. Was he a chancellor? Yeah, he was a chancellor. Bismarck and these people, these statists trying to build this new German state. They wanted to create an obedient population who would follow orders, particularly in the army. So that's why they created formal schooling. My Nerve Matter says, my granddad taught me how to read before I started the school nursery. I could write my name, knew my address and telephone number. I was free. Yeah, absolutely. And just think about it. Any parent knows that your child learns just in that year of maternity leave, your child learns a massive amount with no formal, even if you're just talking about walking, standing, sitting up, talking and so forth. You don't have to tell a child, okay, now say something, you do a little bit of that, but frankly, it's, children will learn. You give them the context in which to learn and they will learn. My son, for example, he's like really, really interested in trains, he's obsessed about trains. And he knows all the different types. He knows freight trains, he knows passenger trains, diesel trains. You know, he learns. We take him to the station sometimes to just chill at the train station, and he watches all the trains. He's like, "Ah, oh, fast train. How many carriages?" He can recite the tannoy thing, which is at the next train at platform 4 is the da 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 da. You know, he knows all that. He learns all that just because that's what he's interested in. And so he's like, "Cool. Well, let's give you the context for that." He book reading. You know, he's at that age now where he'll just pull the books off the shelf himself and start looking through them and like, you know, kind of, you know, one of his friends as well is really, really into dinosaurs, you know, and again, it's like, you know, he doesn't need school for that. You just, anyway, I'm rambling a bit. Raging Agent, you said, I mean, mind over matter, you said, oh wait, hold on. Raging Agent first. Oh wait, yeah, you said, I heard and believe it's true. A lot of black children are top learners in their earlier schools, yeah, careers, but the politics drags them down over time. We tend to be more advanced in early development. If you've seen my video on melanin, made in 2015, you'll know that I talk about that. And yeah, exactly. Black children learn to walk much quicker than other children. They learn to walk much quicker. They sit up much quicker. They can move their heads around. And I saw it's mad. Like me and my wife, we went to like a antenatal group, which is where you meet other parents, and a lot of them, you know, a lot of them are white because we live in a quite white area. And then you know, you'd see over time, you'd keep in contact with them and so forth, and you'd see that my son would be like charging around, you know, running around at like 9-10 months. Some of these other children can't even crawl yet. They're not even crawling yet. You know, they're barely moving yet. My son's like, let alone is he moving, he's running around and like, you know, starting to climb upstairs and whatnot. And there's a connection between that. There's probably a connection between that early development and melanin, because melanin is concentrated in our, in our central nervous system. And the central nervous system is the thing that basically drives a lot of this motor skills, you know, is some of the, you can tell I haven't looked into that for a while, but we're advanced, you know, from a young age, we are very, very advanced. And, you know, what we need to do is that we need to, you know, nurture that that lead that we have, nurture that and develop that. For example, anyway, I'll bang on about my son, but talking about the train thing, Rage Bajan said that's a natural passion for trains. Yeah, he loves trains. Mind Over Matter said, Rage Bajan, yeah, natural passion for trains. He absolutely loves trains. And it's like, it's bizarre. It's like, exactly. Anyway, sorry, I'm get him a train set and he can build his own train track. Yeah, they used to advertise that back in the day. Exactly. Yeah, that would be the next thing, because he's got a train track. Sorry, what am I talking about? He's got. In fact, it's here. He's got like these things. Like when you put that on there, you can put a train there and magnets there. So he builds these big old trains and like. It's so funny and it's so cute, I must say. And yeah, that's what I'm talking. Ranger Beijing, your son may be an engineer. Yeah, that's a future engineer. That's what we're telling him. Because first I was like, yeah, he could be a train driver. I'm like, no, wait, hold on. No, you can be an engineer. You can, you know, you can design trains. You know, you can build train stations. You know, design and build train stations. You know, and then obviously engineering, that kind of engineering could start with trains. Who knows where he might. I used to be really into planes, like weirdly, like warplanes. I was a very strange child, but I was really into warplanes, like jet planes and whatnot. So maybe there's something in the genes. Yeah, them wooden train sets are just you know, they're a godsend, because you can just leave them with him and he'll just build them. What's annoying for him now, because we've got another one, a youngster who's like 9 months now, and he just charges through and like trashes it all. And my eldest is like, no, stop it. And it's like, yeah, this is what it's like having a brother, I'm afraid. Get used to it. Now we'll go back up to some of these comments that I missed. or a comment that I missed from Mind Over Matter. You said, let me tell you a secret. A black man married to a white teacher told me that the white teachers tend to mark down the black students to demotivate them. So by the time they get to certain grades, they give up. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, it's Mind Over Matter. We love hearing about black children's brilliance. Continue. Yeah, I'll keep you posted, man. It's a whirlwind. It's such a fascinating thing seeing children growing up, and especially seeing the children interacting with each other and how they differ in certain ways. Like one of my son's friends. Yeah, he's really into dinosaurs. I said, and like he can tell you like a little black as well. He can tell you like Brachiosaurus, Brontosaurus, Stegosaurus, this saurus, that saurus. I'm like, he's 2.5 years old, and he's saying these like 4-syllable words, you know. And he's really like wordy. He's very good with his words. Very, very quite eloquent with his words, and it's funny. My son's quite fairly eloquent as well, but not this guy's even more eloquent. And it's funny seeing them together because today we went out and I've learned that like my son's really fast. Could be his Jamaican heritage, but he runs so fast. The other boy is Jamaican actually, but watching them together, like my son's like, I put them together like, oh, on your marks, get set, go. Son's gone flying down, and then like the other one's like kind of daintily running along. It's just great. It's great to see. It's great to see. And yeah, exactly. Never let them teachers tell your children that they can't be something. I had a black teacher tell me I can't be rich and successful. They are dream crushers. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thankfully, I've not got any examples of my teachers. Actually, when I was growing up, were okay. They didn't push me particularly. Kind of like what you said, Rage Invasion. My school for me was a bit of a holiday camp as well, because it wasn't hard. Nothing was particularly hard for me, you know, and I was always just like, oh, I'll just settle and coach. And, you know, most of the things that I remember learning as a youngster were from my older brother. Used to bring history books back from, he was in secondary school when I was in like primary school. And I used to love reading those books, learning all about like the Russian Revolution, the Cold War, the this, the that, and the other. And just anecdotes, like things, sometimes teachers would say something, wouldn't necessarily be part of the curriculum we're supposed to be learning. They might say like some throwaway thing and I'll be like, oh, that's really interesting. I'd love to know more about that. You know, those are the things that stick out in my head, offhand things that people would say, rather than all the, I couldn't tell you what I remember from I mean, in history we learned about Aztecs, the American Civil War, not Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, maybe. English, we read a few, but it's just, yeah, a lot of a waste of time, frankly, if I'm honest, at school. Yeah, he's on his way to being a Usain Bolt Junior, little Speedy Gonzalez. All right, wow. So it's been an hour. That's gone a long time. But that's good. At least the stream actually worked this time around. Yeah. So I was going to talk about homeschooling. I'm supposed to be talking about the talk, this documentary. Okay. One of the things. Two things to talk about. One thing is that one thing that kept coming out in this documentary was lies, and how there was a whole thing about how society is telling lies about us. You know, society is lying to you, us, and saying that you're criminals, you're violent, you're this, you're that. This kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, the raging Beijing, about you know, the labels that are put on you and how you're chastised and you're put into certain groups and certain kinds of schools and so forth. And that is a real key thing. Like a big part of for all of us is about having the right narrative about the world, you know. So the narrative that we get, of course, from the starving children, African children on TV, from the 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 yardie culture that, you know, people equate Jamaican culture with the yardie culture. With, when I was younger in particular, with bad man, with you know, bad man culture, and um, the idea that black people can only be sports people, and black people are only musicians, and black people can't be eloquent, and black, you know, one of the guys, Mario Itoje, who's a rugby player, he said that people say to him, because he speaks quite English eloquent, and people, he was saying that people say to him, oh, you speak, how come you don't speak like black people? Like, you know, why don't you speak black? You know, that thing of like, yeah, being black means being hood, being ghetto, you know, that narrative, all those narratives we need to just make sure that our children never buy into those narratives, never buy into those narratives about what being black is about. Something that I posted on Instagram a few weeks ago, at Africans Arise, by the way, on Instagram, just trying to get more active on there, because I know that's where the, you know, that's where the kids are these days. I'm not on TikTok yet, but one of the things that I was that we do with my children is that we take them on walks in like the fields around here and like the foresty kind of things around here. And in a way, in my head, I was like, oh yeah, this is quite a white thing to do. You know, black people don't really do that. But that's bad. That's a bad thing, because our background is in the countryside. Our backgrounds is in the forests. You know, our background is rural mainly. You know, yes, we had cities, we had some cities, but most of our kind of heritage is not urban. It's only in the USA, and it's only in the UK and certain of these kinds of places, maybe Brazil. It's only there where we've been herded into these, crammed into these cities, into these ghettos, and we've, rightly so, we've adapted that as our, you know, we've adapted it and turned it into something that we can, you know, you take your environment and you shape it as best as you can, and you embrace it as best as you can. But we are not urban people, you know. Urban culture is not black culture, and we should get away from that. That's an example of what I'm talking about, the narrative. You know, we are not, and the music and the music videos, they what's the word? They kind of put this across, especially when I was growing up in the 90s. You know, hip hop videos, all the Wu-Tang, Mobb Deep, you know, Jay-Z, Nas, all these guys, even on the West Coast as well, you know, Snoop and blah, 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 all in the cities, you know, all in the cities, all in the ghettos, all in the hoods. And we think that that's what we are, but that's much more, that's like one little tiny little part of our very recent history. Rage Abajan, you said, we come from rural countries, but sadly our countries want to be urbanized and westernized. Exactly. And you know, here's a funny thing. Yes, we look at being, you know, rural as being backward, and you know, to be forward and modern and so forth means to have more cities and industry and so forth. But look what's happening in the West right now as a result of the COVID-19 lockdown, pandemic lockdowns. What's happening? You've got huge numbers of people who are not even going into cities anymore. They're working from home. You know, they're working from home. Why? Because technology makes you able, you know, has given us the potential, the ability to work at home. All these jobs that you're traipsing into the cities to do, there's no need for them to be traipsing into cities to do. You can do it from home. You can do it remotely, like we're doing this remotely. And then the flips, the added thing with that as well is that we're allowing our land in the Caribbean and in Africa and other places to be bought up by multinationals, by Westerners, by foreigners. The land is being bought up because the land is where the true wealth comes from. Oh, hold on a minute. Went black a bit for a second. Yeah, the land is where the wealth is, actually. You know, the fertility of the land and just control of your own land is key. But we want to herd people into the cities, and then you know, where we can basically generate profit for others. You know, that's what's popping here. Anyway, I think my stream might be starting to pack up a little bit, so I'm gonna, yeah. Is it all right now? Is the stream all right now? There's one more thing I was going to say, and then I will call it a day. There's some washing that's just finished. Yeah. All right. Good. So yeah, land is key, and ownership of land is key. I mean, I haven't looked much in the last very recently, but I do remember that there was a time where a lot of oh no, it's frozen. Damn it. All right. We had a good shot. Good shot. All right, can you see me now? Can you guys see me now? Just let me know. Hit me up with a quick message if you can hear me now. There's one more thing that I wanted to say, but I could say it another time, I suppose. Oh yeah, I can see it's flickering. All right, do you know what? Let's quit while we're ahead. Probably let's quit while we're ahead. Listen, guys. Thank you so much for it's all going. Thanks a lot, guys. It's been fun, man. It's been. I can see you. Okay, Matt said I can see you froze, but we can hear. Yeah. I don't know why it's doing that. It's a silly thing. Let me try and I don't know. Maybe if I close some of these other tabs, see if it makes a difference. Anyway, yeah, cool. You know what? It's been fun. It's been a pleasure, and I don't get to do these live streams very often because with these blessed boys in the house, it's like, yeah, it's hard enough trying to work here, let alone trying to do live streams. But to be honest, if I can find time, to do work, then I can find time to do this kind of thing because this kind of stuff is part of my work. I see it as, so it's important. So yeah, I want to say blessings, peace and blessings to all of y'all's. Thanks, folks, Rage and Major, Mind Over Matter in particular for all of your comments. Yeah, thank you for your time as well, Rage and Major. Yeah, I'll see you soon, Mind Over Matter. Yes, my brother, and Michelle's. Peace and blessings to you, sir. And I think I saw that African Superstar was doing a live stream. So now we're finished. Maybe head over to her stream and check her out. Hey, Ndugu, habari gani. Julius, yeah, you saw part one, but you have to rewind part two. Yeah. Oh yeah, peace. Yeah, it all went a bit strange when I was trying to do the live stream at the beginning, but I want to say thanks to Rage and Beige, and she told me about this thing called StreamYard, which has been brilliant. I'm loving it. So yeah, that's me. So yeah, all right, fam. Karibu sana. Tutaonana baadaye. Peace and blessings to you. Mungu akubariki. God bless you all. And I will see you soon. I forgot to end the stream, so I can do that now. Yeah. Sawa.